It looks like we are about to get some storms, but as I am sitting out here looking at the weather right now, we did get an announcement from Halloween Horror Nights, which is Slaughter Cinema 2 is our very first announced house. And piggybacking off of that, I was sitting here and I'm like, what do I want this year from HHN? I feel like everyone's talking about like, oh, they did this, or I'm waiting for this, or whatever. And it's like, I don't really know. So today, I'm gonna talk about my Halloween Horror Nights wish list for 2024. In doing so, we're gonna head over to Universal Studios once the weather clears up here, and I'm gonna show you the new merch that just dropped, and we're just gonna kind of like talk a little bit. There's a few small updates over there that we'll go over in general too, but let's talk about my HHN 2024 or HHN 33 wish list. We made it over to City Walk / Universal right now, and it looks like the weather's kind of held off. We were traveling around a little bit, and there was definitely some storm clouds on the distance, but I think we kind of dodged it for the most part. But the humidity is definitely here right now. As I mentioned, we will be checking out the new shirt today, so we're gonna head over towards the 5 and Dime area to go see the new HHN shirt. We're gonna go check on a little bit of the construction updates. I also saw that the tribute store is kind of coming together a little bit, so we're gonna do all of that today. But again, a big part of today, we'll be talking about my wish list for this year and kind of what I'm expecting, or not necessarily expecting, but kind of hoping comes this year with the information that we do have. So as we are going over to the 5 and Dime to show you the shirt, so they have embraced this kind of like 90s to early 2000s vibe, and like I kind of mentioned before, it feels a little bit like, I don't know, almost like Tony Hawk-ish, and you'll see the new one, it looks kind of similar to the other one. And Nicole kind of pointed out, it reminds her, back in like the 90s and 2000s, they had those like teal and like white cups and like design on a lot of things. I wonder, yeah, there's a little bit of purple in there. I wonder if they would bring like some of that out for some of the merchandise, for like, let's say like the cup that you can get, like the refillable mug. I wonder if they would do something like that, where like that would be the design, since they're kind of leaning into that. Could be something I might put on the wish list this year. There is the sign for the new merch reveal. Very interesting, right? Like very grunge. And just if you were to say what would an HHN Tony Hawk like merge be, this would be it, right? This is the HHN Tony Hawk like conversion. I feel like that's even like that old Activision like symbol that they used to have for the eyeball there. But I don't know, it's just interesting. This is kind of unique because this looks like it might be like a Japanese or like Korean like writing there. But like even like this like clip. Let's just go look at the shirt and we can dig more in. All right, well, a Chucky duck. I don't know if we have already seen that, though.
I think I remember this from last year, though.
That's what I'm saying. I think, because I see the Chucky, like, lunchbox, but this is the new shirt. So how is the feel? Not as soft?
No, I think these are so much softer.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Feel the bottom?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So this has a little bit more of a...
like a textured feel.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and show you guys what we're looking at here, if I can swing it over there. So this is... the design, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just it's interesting. You have like these like laser beams coming out of the eye, you know, like the like old school vampire teeth. It does say 24, so I guess it's 2024, right? So like that's where I think people were a little upset that we're getting 24 over the 33, which I mentioned in a previous video. Either way, I like the design of it. I think between the two, I do actually think I like this new one more. And this, again, this screams even more Tony Hawk. This almost screams like Dead Island, in my opinion. This is a little bit more like Tony Hawk-esque, but it's, I don't know. It's just, I don't know where they're going with the theme yet. And that's something that I think I want to keep in mind. Also, the price on that is $35. This one is also blacklight reactive, and we're back at this like no two shirts are exactly the same. I think it's just the way that they use them. Assuming like recycled materials of some sort. Either way, kind of cool to see. Also, I'm now noticing like in the center, I don't know if it's meant to be like a record. You see like kind of like the lines. Kind of cool. So like it almost looks like this could be like a record or like an old like vinyl or something. So Nicole's kind of pointing out down here, you can see like this one has a lot like lighter colored there, or like this has almost has like what looks to be like a stain, or like this one's different. So they are all a little different. I mean, the design is all going to be the same. It's basically whatever this like kind of like splash is going to be, and then nothing on the back there and nothing on the sleeves. So new shirt for HHN 2024 or HHN 33. They did finally uncover what the last video was. So our last update, we did see these 3 options for the tribute store, and now we know what the final option is, and it's Gergen Ghosts again. It's time again. So this is the final design for that one. Like I said, we knew the other 3, and you can actually see right here, they put like a sticker over it because they weren't sure, I guess. Maybe they weren't finalized on what the design was gonna be. Either way, that is the final design if you guys are interested in this. I still think this is gonna be a big hit. Just a quick little like point, by the way, just so you guys know, this isn't the HHN tribute store. This is the summer tribute store, which is why, like, yes, they do have kind of like 2 kind of like horror based ones, but then you have like 2 that don't really totally scream horror. Just so you guys are aware, this is summer. This will be here for summer. There will be a new one that opens for Halloween Horror Nights, which I'm sure a lot of you guys do know that, but just so you're aware. And speaking of, let's go take a look at the facade that is going up over here by the tribute store right now. They are putting some touches here on the far side. Now there's nothing that's going on over there to the left. That was the first entrance for the Jurassic Park one, but then the Mardi Gras one, we had the entrance over here. And I'm believing we're gonna do that again based on what I'm seeing here. So it just kind of looks like they've kind of extruded it a little bit from the wall, and this looks like it's probably gonna be meant to look like a ticket booth counter. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Like they might put like words up here, making it almost look like a kiosk, and like these would be like the windows that you would order your tickets from. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys can let me know what you think down below. Also, I don't recall those being melted. I don't know if that's from the sun or if that's like something new, but it looks like they're all melted now. I'll get you a closer view. So I don't know if that's what it's meant to be, or it just like sat in the sun. Do you see that? They're all melted. I think they got melted from the sun, or that's how it was meant to be. But I mean, those look like they got cooked. Holy cow! Let's go check the other side. I think we lost Earl the squirrel in the window on the other side too, though. But no, nothing up there. Just dusty, and it looks like wood.
It smells stinky.
It smells almost like HHN, like wood vibes is what I'm kind of getting.
It smells like the Christmas tribute store to me.
Almost a little bit of that too. So let's talk a little bit more of the wish list as we are kind of navigating around right now. Something else I want to see this year would definitely be more put together / intense scare zones. I feel like last year, definitely the weakest point was the scare zones. I think they put a lot of effort, money, and just like time into the houses, which was great, but I feel like the scare zones were not attracting the people like they did in years past. I feel like the characters were almost like too similar between the zones, and I know that was part of the Oddfellow lore, and there's more to it, but I just feel like we need to make sure this year that the scare zones feel impactful. I felt like none of them really delivered enough that I felt like you could be like, yeah, like what a great scare zone from last year. Where I feel like years prior, and specifically 2 years ago, I think there was definitely some big hits, and obviously not all of them were as good, but I feel like you could be like, yeah, like even like Deadly Unrest over here was really good. I feel like the Coven area over there where they did like the like little sacrifice show and whatever, that was pretty good. I just think things went well. I just think if they don't do that again this year, people are really gonna like lose faith in the scare zone. So that is one thing we need to look forward to, is hopefully they do very good scare zones this year and kind of make up for a little bit of a lackluster point from last year. As we're walking through one of the better scare zones from 2 years ago, that was, I don't remember the name, but it was the scare zone. What?
The corn.
Yeah, there was the corn guy out here. This is a great scare zone 2 years ago. Last year, I felt like, number one, missing a lot of scare actors. I feel like there was like hardly anybody in here almost every single time you walk through. And it's always such a tight zone that I feel like you should be able to do so much with it. And I don't know, it just, the set work in here was pretty sweet, but I feel like the scare actors were just like too far and few between. And I don't know, it just didn't love it again. We have already done enough updates for DreamWorks. It is all finished basically inside of there. They are doing team member previews today. They did invites for like a little special preview, I think a few days ago. And I think Tuesday we are able to sign up for annual pass previews, so hopefully you'll be able to see that. I'm sure Nicole will be joining me on the spot with that, so we'll make sure to do that. But what I do want to show you is the ET sign that we were talking about earlier. There is our new sign for ET. Just as I kind of imagined, I assumed it was going to kind of span the entire length there. It was also going to have like the trees and everything, so it does look to be kind of what I was expecting. I thought, in all honesty, it would be a little bit longer. I thought it would kind of go like pole to pole, and we are not quite that length, so I think I was expecting it to be a little bit longer. There are some supports underneath that look to have been kind of like marked off. They're just underneath a few there, so there might be a little bit more coming in. We'll have to see, but I think for the most part, that is going to be a majority of what this looks like. But it does look like there could be a little bit more added right now. So before I make a final call on that, we'll wait and see. Either way, I am happy that they have a big sign to kind of tell you the ET is this way. I don't know what things look like behind this though. So I don't know if people are going to know like exactly how it navigates, or maybe this is just a way to say, hey, come back this direction for ET. Being next to DreamWorks, like I don't know how all this is going to be exposed. That's where I really want to see everything come together, because you're going to have a lot of action and a lot of things going on over here at DreamWorks. So does ET get its own little area as far as like behind these trees? I don't know. That's something that we have to keep an eye on, and I think we'll see here in just a few weeks. Now we are heading over to M.I.B right now because it is getting a little humid and roasty toasty, so we are going to go cool off inside. But another thing that I really wanted this year, Nicole just mentioned to me, she has no idea what's on my list. So what did you say?
I said that now that the drone show is going to be up and running, I want a HHN water drone show this year. I think, back in 22, it got cut so short because of the hurricane, and it was lacking last year without one. And I think, if we had more shows to take people away from the houses, that could help a little bit. And I want to watch a show. So if you can do one for summer, you can do one for Halloween.
And that they can. They can definitely release a new show for the event. However, I don't know if they will, because we aren't getting the drone show and the new nighttime show until mid-June. The first day of HHN is August 30th. So realistically, you would have July and August to try and kind of develop and kind of release a new show. I don't know if you would have enough testing. My assumption is maybe they just run the nighttime show during HHN, but it doesn't totally fit the vibe. I don't know. And maybe that's where this new theme kind of comes in. We have this 90s, 2000s vibes, maybe with kind of like the theme that we're seeing, maybe that kind of goes along with the nighttime show. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here. We are gonna go cool off, blast some aliens. We'll be right back and continue on with our wish list. That was a nice little change of pace. Got 320,000 points, did pretty okay. Either way, another thing on my wish list is actually kind of right behind us here, where the Nightmare Fuel, I was gonna say the Nighttime Fuel, but it's the Nightmare Fuel show goes on. One thing I really wanna see this year is for them to really change up the story a little bit. It's felt kind of the same the past few years. Not that it's not a good show, but let's really like change it up. I'm good with the people that they use. I'm good with like kind of the theme to it, but let's change the story a little bit. Let's really get creative with it and like change up the story a little bit. I'm fine with it being Nightmare Fuel. I'm fine with them doing another chapter or whatever, but the story, that's on the wish list this year. Let's change up the story enough to not feel like it's just kind of a same iteration with a little bit of a flair change. Just really make it something unique this year. This is super far-fetched, but we are walking here by the Wizarding World right now, and in Diagon Alley, I think it would be cool, though I know it's not gonna happen, if they brought out like Voldemort and what's her name? Bellatrix. Like to have them kind of like come out at certain points. I know we have the Death Eaters, and that's a cool little touch, but I think having like Voldemort come out, I don't know. I think it'd be fun. I know that there's probably like story things that wouldn't add up, and you can't do certain things. I don't know. Who cares? Exactly. I think that would be a lot of fun, and I think that would draw a huge crowd to try and go over there. And it could be super unique, even if it was only like, I don't know, 3 times a night or something that came out for like 30 minutes or something, just to like, I don't know. Either way, that's a long shot, but I think it'd be kind of cool. Another part of my wish list would be for the bar over here. Now, I liked what they did with it last year, and it's felt pretty okay, but it still doesn't feel like the max potential it could be. I think it would be kind of interesting, maybe add some music in here, almost like a little like dance party or something to just like draw the crowd here more than just the drinks. Also, I think it would be more unique to do more things along this wall here, going down and around, because last time it was like you came in and then you had to walk all the way down, and then around the corner was when it started. So some people, I imagine, weren't even totally aware. I know they had like the big truss here with the sign work, but I think it would be nice to have more just activity inside of here. Even if they wanted to add like some of those carnival games or something, just make this a little bit more lively, because I feel like between this spot here all the way around outside of Nightmare Fuel, you really don't have like anything until you get back over by like that bridge area, and that's a scare zone. So it's pretty much like nothing all over here except for Nightmare Fuel, like I said, and then that. So I think having something a little bit further extended out, I know we have the scare zone that exists right here. I don't know, I just think it would be nice to utilize this spot a little bit more. I'm fine with it being a bar, but let's spice it up a little bit. Piggybacking off of the drinks, what do you feel about those, Nicole?
I think we need like more options, more variety, different drinks this year. I feel like it's always the same like blue drink and like strong liqueur, and like make like more options.
I can agree with that. I think it would be nice to have a nice selection of drinks and really diversify. They do feel a little samey in some regards. I like when they got a little creative. Obviously, the Surfer Boy Punch was delicious. I think they need to do more things
Or
like that.
blended drinks.
Yeah, maybe that too. Like more like blended, kind of like fun drinks would be a little interesting. As we are right in front of the Fast and Furious, 2 years ago in this zone, this was kind of like the witch zone. I keep forgetting the name of it. I want to call it Spirits of the Coven, but that was a house. Either way, they had a stage show right here that like they would come out, they do like this like sacrifice stuff, and it lasted a little while. And I know they did something kind of similar for Oddfellow over across the way inside of the Jungle of Doom area. But I think this would be a great spot for a stage show again. And then even over like near New York before with the Vamp 69 scare zone, I feel like they could have done something on the stage. I'd like to see them do a few more stage style shows. They can be smaller and quicker, but just get up on the stage, maybe a 5 to 10 minute long little spiel and kind of go with it. Even, what's his name? Dr. Sweets, or what was his name? Mayor Sweets? And like the Sweet, they used to do like that little interaction where they would come out and they would choose like somebody to sacrifice inside of like this major sweet zone. And I don't know, I think that would be like something great. So Sweet Revenge did it as well that year. So they had a few little like tidbits of that. I think that would be really nice to just keep people like interested in the scare zones a little bit more versus just kind of existing, walking through, calling it a day. Not sure what they're doing over here, but it looks like they're doing some sort of work back there. Could just be some touch-ups before they do some stuff here. Speaking of, a little side note, I would like them to kind of utilize this like they did last year. So my wish list would be just do kind of what you did last year for the Last of Us booth in here. I thought that was awesome. I thought it was the best themed booth, hands down, and it was just cool the way it was kind of navigated through. So that was really, really nice. I'd like to see them do more themed booths to the houses that they have and really theme them up like they did here. I know it's a little harder because at least in this alley you have a lot more room to work with. Obviously if you're just doing a booth out and about, it's a little bit harder, but I like that we're kind of going in that direction of theming stuff up. I wouldn't mind even adding a little bit more props and stuff around the booths just to kind of like bring it all together. If you are excited for Halloween Horror Nights 33, please give this video a thumbs up, and while you're down there, consider subscribing to the channel if you guys want to see new videos anytime we do release them. As of now, we are heading over to Rip Ride. It has been a long time since we've done Rip Ride, so we're gonna go ride that right now. I am still curious if it is going to shut down, if they're gonna bring it down permanently or what, but that's the rumor right now. I think for like next year, but I don't really know. I feel like everyone just spits rumors around, and obviously with Epic Universe coming around, I don't know if Universal would make that big of an announcement like that. They have started adding some touches to the Illumination Avenue over here, so you could see the sign up there that says Illumination. We have some characters from some of their movies as well. I wonder how much of this wall they're gonna end up putting up, because I feel like they've got to really fill it up. It looks so small right now, like the sign. So I'm imagining they just like really fill up that entire blue wall. We'll have to see, but that is the first touch, which I can at least appreciate that. Speaking of Illumination Avenue, one thing that I would really hope to see, and I don't know how it works with the contracts, would be this entire area last year was empty. So you had basically the front of the park all the way down past all the Minion stuff, pretty much until you got to like Jimmy Fallon, where you had the queues still here, but kind of at the end of Jimmy Fallon was the scare zone. This whole area was just like off limits pretty much. They did have a little bit of food, and then you had the houses over here, so you do have the queues here, but I would really like them to utilize this area a little bit better. Even if they brought back those like carnival games over here even, I think we need to just like do something with this area because it was just such a dead space. We need to get this active because it's like no one's coming through here unless you're doing the houses or you're using it for a shortcut and you're not stopping. You're just going point A to point B. As we are coming up here to Rip Ride, I do want to let you know it has been a pretty busy one today when we look at the lines. Not the busiest I've ever seen it, but definitely that weekend crowd. Plus, obviously, we are getting a little bit closer to summer, so we've started to see some of those things start to rise throughout the day. But as of now, we're going to go ahead, get on Rip Ride, and then we will talk some more about the wish list. Now that we are back in front of Mel's, one thing I would really like to see, obviously Mel's does a little bit of an overlay here for the Mel's die-in. The menu doesn't really change, but what would be cool is over in like Minions Land, if they went ahead and like offered some like popsicles that were unique to HHN, I think that would be kind of cool. More like, you know, like blood themed or something. It would also be kind of cool to see Mel's come up with some items exclusive to HHN too. My most unrealistic take for my wish list is that we get good weather for opening night, as we are looking to maybe get some storms here in a minute, but I feel like that's asking for a lot. That's kind of just a little bit of a joke, but also kind of serious because I feel like we always just have crazy storms. Before I go on to our last few wish list items, in the comments below, let me know anything you want to see or don't want to see for HHN this year, or maybe just in general. Maybe you're like, I'm over this, or we really need to start seeing that. So in the comments, let me know wish list items that you guys might have. Next up though, for me, I'd really like to see more video game representation brought to the houses or potentially even some of the scare zones. I know we had The Last of Us. I feel like they could do Resident Evil. Even something like Doom is also kind of interesting. I think there's a lot of games out there that you really could bring to life, and they already kind of have like some sort of background. You don't really have to make up this crazy story as much. So I think it's an easy way to just like shift it in. However, I know it's a little harder. There's a lot of IP like contracts that have to go into place, but I feel like video game IPs really bring in a lot of crowds. The Last of Us, I think actually might have been more impressive to people to like come to HHN over Stranger Things last year. Like people were obsessed with that. And I was surprised because I was like, oh, like I never played the game. I didn't really care that much about it. Then I ended up watching the show and I was like, yeah, it was a good show. I wasn't like blown away, but people loved it. So I think video games, people get so attached to them that it's a great opportunity to bring stuff to HHN and bring new crowds into the park. We are back in City Walk right now, but the next item on the wish list for me, and only because it's getting warmer, would be to maybe add some fans to the lines, add some misters, try and make it a little bit more comfortable for people sitting in those lines, because sometimes it gets very, very warm when you're waiting around. Can you agree with that one, Nicole?
Oh, it gets so hot, and all those bodies packed in such a tight spot. It's like a different level of heat.
It really is. So if Universal could just add some fans, nothing. Oh my gosh, what is that? We gotta go over there. Speaking of fans, what is going on over there? And the reason I say fans is because I think she's got a fan underneath her blowing away. What? That is crazy. I don't know how she's up there. Magic. Has to be magic. She's like floating around.
She's like riding like a mechanical bull up there.
It does. How do you think she's up there? Do you think
I think she's sitting on something.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't know. It reminds me of those like water jet things that people like float in the water with. That's crazy.
I feel like we kind of talked about it like a little bit earlier when we were mentioning how there's like kind of nothing between Hogwarts and like Nightmare Fuel. But I would really like if they did more food and alcohol booths all throughout the park. I felt like this year they were really heavy up front around like the New York area. And I want more back by like M.I.B. I want it back in Simpsons. I want it back like, I just want the whole park to feel more HHN than certain sections.
And to piggyback off of that, not last year or like this past one, but I guess technically last year's Mardi Gras, they had booths over there and it felt like there was food booths everywhere. So you were able to navigate around. They spread the crowds out well. That's actually a smart point. I like that. It kind of makes sure to kind of go out and about instead of just being like stuck in like one little avenue where all of the food is. And for our last wish list item, as we are now over at the Florida Mall, I know we have transported, but we needed to come here before it closed. Also behind me, there's like Dino Fest going on. I'll show you that in a second. It's kind of weird. Doesn't pertain to anything HHN. But anyway, the last thing I want to point out would be some changes to the houses. Number one, I think they could be just a hair longer. I do feel like they are just a little bit too short in my opinion. Number two, I would say when they do a cast change, I would really appreciate if they almost just shut the entire thing down for like 3 minutes and just let everybody get into place. In my opinion, I feel like people are gonna appreciate waiting that extra 3 minutes to have a good run versus like, oh, it's a fresh cast change and you're going through and there's a lot of empty boo holes. So to really like time that up and make sure that you get that consistent run, I think would be nice. Only because we got hit with it a number of times, and if you're a first-time visitor or like it's the only time you're visiting for the year and you get like 2 or 3 cast changes on some of the better houses, you're gonna feel like, dang, I really missed it, but I don't have time to go back into that one. So I think like just like shutting it down for like 3 minutes, just let all of the people like in and out and then continue on, I think would be, in my opinion, the preferred method to do so. And then finally, I think I'd like to just like really intensify things. I feel like the houses last year were pretty good, but not super intense. I feel like 2 years ago, some of the houses were a little bit more intense, where last year I feel like we didn't have that intensity level that I would have liked. I really loved to see a little bit more intensity from the scare actors. Just getting in the face a little bit more, you know, really getting closer. I know there's probably some sort of like safety thing we gotta worry about, because obviously if you get touched or something, there's that. But I like when they're aggressive because it really brings everything together. If somebody kind of just turns the corner and just looks at you really quick and kind of whatever, you're like, okay, it was good. But when they get really aggressive, you feel a little bit more involved in the entire thing. So that kind of like whole package would be my final item for the wish list. Now, very quickly before we leave, I do want to point this out. This is Lumino City Dino Safari. If you guys are interested at all, it looks quite interesting. It looks like it's a giant walkthrough exhibit with like moving dinosaurs and stuff. Either way, that is going to do it for us here on this video for our HHN wish list for 2024. Now, there's a lot of other things I think that I could kind of mention, but I feel like those are the big ones that I feel like I could really just say could potentially be changes that they could bring. There's some very unrealistic ones. Some of them I think I mentioned here as well. Either way, like I said, leave yours in the comments below. I'd like to see where people's heads are at, what they want to see this year or what they don't want to see. I think that is kind of always a little interesting. Either way, we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.